Chapter 1, The Invitation. Eleanor Rook was a name whispered in hushed tones throughout the quaint village of Blackwood. Her manor, perched atop the hill and shrouded in perpetual mist, was the subject of countless rumors and ghostly tales. It was said that no one who entered her home after sundown ever emerged the same. One cold October evening, a letter arrived at the doorstep of Arthur Cromwell, a local historian with a penchant for the occult. The letter was sealed with a crimson wax bearing the intricate crest of the Rook family. Intrigued, Arthur broke the seal and unfolded the yellowed parchment. Dear Mr. Cromwell, you are cordially invited to the Rook Manor for an evening of enlightenment and discovery. Your knowledge of the arcane and the esoteric has preceded you, and I believe we share a common interest in uncovering the secrets of the beyond. Sincerely, Eleanor Rook. Arthur's heart raced. An invitation to the infamous Rook Manor was as rare as it was ominous. Despite the warnings of the townsfolk, Arthur's curiosity was insatiable. He packed his leather satchel with notebooks, a flashlight, and an array of protective charms, then set out for the manor. The path to the manor was lined with ancient trees, their gnarled branches forming a skeletal canopy. As he approached, the air grew colder, and the once distant silhouette of the manor loomed large and foreboding. The gate, rusted and creaking, swung open with an eerie groan as he pushed it. The manor itself was a Gothic marvel, with spires that seemed to pierce the sky and windows like dark, unblinking eyes. Arthur felt a chill that had nothing to do with the night air as he ascended the steps to the grand entrance. The heavy door opened before he could knock, revealing a dimly lit foyer. Eleanor Rook stood at the top of a sweeping staircase, her presence commanding and ethereal. Her dark eyes seemed to pierce into Arthur's very soul as she descended gracefully. "Mr. Cromwell, welcome," she said, her voice like velvet. "I trust your journey was pleasant?" Arthur nodded, though the pounding of his heart suggested otherwise. "Thank you for the invitation, Miss Rook. Your home is remarkable." Eleanor smiled, a gesture that held no warmth. "There is much to discuss. Follow me." As he followed her deeper into the manor, the shadows seemed to close in around them, whispering secrets that made Arthur's skin crawl. He knew, with a growing sense of dread, that this night would be one he would never forget. Chapter 2, The Unseen. The hallway Eleanor led him down was lined with portraits of stern-faced ancestors, their eyes seeming to follow Arthur as he walked. The air was thick with the scent of old books and something else, something metallic and faintly sweet. They arrived at a door at the end of the corridor. Eleanor pushed it open, revealing a vast library lit by flickering candles. Shelves upon shelves of ancient tomes reached up to the ceiling, and a grand fireplace roared with a greenish flame that cast an otherworldly glow. "Please, have a seat," Eleanor gestured to a high-backed chair near the fire. As Arthur sat, he noticed a peculiar book on a small table beside him. Its cover was bound in what appeared to be aged leather, and its title, Liber Umbra, was embossed in gold. Eleanor sat across from him, her eyes never leaving his. "Do you know what this is, Mr. Cromwell?" Arthur's fingers brushed the book's cover. "The Book of Shadows," he whispered, recognizing the Latin. "It's a legend among occult scholars. Many believe it contains forbidden knowledge of the darkest kind." Eleanor nodded. "Indeed. This book has been in my family for generations. It holds secrets that could alter the very fabric of our reality. But such knowledge comes at a price." Arthur's curiosity was piqued, but there was a growing unease in the pit of his stomach. "What kind of price?" "The book is bound to the spirits of those who seek its wisdom. To unlock its secrets, one must be willing to face the darkness within themselves. Are you prepared for such a challenge?" Arthur hesitated. He had always prided himself on his bravery in the face of the unknown, but there was something in Eleanor's eyes that gave him pause. "I am," he said finally, the words heavy with determination. Eleanor smiled again, this time with a hint of genuine warmth. "Very well. The ritual will commence at midnight. Until then, you are free to explore the manor. But I must warn you, do not venture into the west wing. It is unsafe." With that, she stood and left the library, leaving Arthur alone with his thoughts and the ancient book. The fire crackled, and the shadows seemed to dance around him, whispering secrets he could almost hear. Unable to resist, Arthur opened the Liber Umbra. The pages were filled with symbols and incantations in a language he could barely decipher. But one page stood out, a detailed map of the manor with a hidden room marked in the forbidden west wing. A sense of foreboding gripped him, but the allure of forbidden knowledge was too strong. He knew what he had to do. Chapter 3, The Forbidden Wing. With the map from the Liber Umbra as his guide, Arthur made his way through the labyrinthine corridors of the manor. The air grew colder with each step, and the shadows seemed to grow darker, more tangible. The West Wing was a place of legend, a part of the manor even the bravest avoided. Arthur reached a door that matched the one on the map. It was old and covered in strange, arcane symbols. He hesitated for a moment, then pushed it open. The room beyond was unlike any he had seen in the manor, dusty, filled with cobwebs, and permeated by an overpowering sense of dread. At the center of the room stood an ornate mirror, its surface dark and swirling as if alive. Arthur approached it cautiously, his breath visible in the cold air. As he stood before the mirror, an image began to form, a younger Eleanor, her face twisted in terror. Suddenly, the mirror's surface rippled, and Eleanor's reflection began to speak. "Arthur, you must leave this place. The book's power is not what it seems. It binds us, traps our souls." Arthur stepped back, horrified. "Eleanor, what do you mean?" "The spirits within the book, they are prisoners. Each one who seeks its knowledge becomes another link in its chain. You are in danger." Before Arthur could respond, the mirror's surface returned to its dark, swirling state. He turned to leave the room but found the door had vanished, replaced by a solid wall. Panic set in as he realized he was trapped. He felt a presence behind him and turned to see a figure emerging from the shadows, a tall, gaunt man with hollow eyes and a sinister grin. "Welcome, Arthur," the figure hissed. "I am the guardian of the Liber Umbra. You seek its secrets, and now you will join the others." Arthur backed away, but the room seemed to close in on him. The guardian advanced, his bony fingers reaching out. "You cannot escape your fate." Desperate, Arthur remembered the protective charms in his satchel. He pulled out a small vial of holy water and splashed it towards the figure. The guardian recoiled with a scream, giving Arthur a moment to think. He had to find a way out, a way to break the book's curse. He scanned the room for anything that might help and noticed an old, rusted key on a table in the corner. He grabbed it and, with a final glance at the menacing guardian, turned towards the wall where the door had been. In a desperate bid, he plunged the key into an invisible lock. The wall shuddered and then slowly began to open, revealing a dark corridor. Arthur ran, the guardian's shrieks echoing behind him. He emerged into the manor's main hallway, breathless and shaken. The door to the west wing slammed shut behind him, and he could feel the curse's grip loosen slightly. But he knew his ordeal was far from over. The secrets of the Liber Umbra were still out there, and Eleanor's fate, as well as his own, hung in the balance. Chapter 4, The Ritual. Midnight was approaching, and Arthur knew he had to confront Eleanor. He found her in the grand parlour, gazing into the green flames of the fireplace. She turned as he entered, her expression unreadable. "I see you have been exploring," she said softly. Arthur held up the Liber Umbra. "This book is a prison, isn't it? The spirits within are trapped, and those who seek its knowledge become its next victims." Eleanor's eyes filled with sorrow. "Yes. My family has been cursed for generations. The book's power is immense, but it comes at a terrible cost. I invited you here because I believe you might be the one to break the curse." Arthur frowned. "How?" "The ritual," Eleanor explained, "must be completed. But instead of seeking the book's knowledge, you must use its power to free the trapped souls. It is a dangerous task, one that requires great strength and courage." Arthur nodded, determined. "What must I do?" Eleanor handed him a dagger with a blade of pure silver, engraved with runes. "This dagger is the key. You must pierce the heart of the guardian and recite the incantation from the Liber Umbra. Only then will the spirits be released." The clock struck midnight, and the air grew heavy with anticipation. Arthur took a deep breath and followed Eleanor to the library, where the book awaited. The green flames flickered, casting eerie shadows as they prepared for the ritual. Eleanor began to chant, her voice rising and falling in a haunting melody. The book's pages fluttered open, and Arthur could feel a surge of energy coursing through the room. The Guardian appeared, his form more menacing than before. "Do you think you can defeat me?" the Guardian sneered. "You are nothing but a foolish mortal." Arthur gripped the dagger tightly. "I'm not afraid of you!" With a cry, he lunged at the Guardian. The room erupted in chaos as the Guardian fought back, his strength immense. But Arthur's determination was stronger. He plunged the dagger into the Guardian's heart and began to recite the incantation. The Guardian screamed, his form writhing and twisting as the power of the incantation took hold. The air crackled with energy, and the spirits trapped within the book began to emerge, their forms ghostly and shimmering. Arthur's voice grew louder, more confident, as he continued the incantation. The Guardian's screams grew fainter, and finally, with a burst of light, he was gone. The book's grip on the spirits was broken, and they were free. Eleanor watched, tears streaming down her face, as the spirits ascended, their expressions of relief and gratitude. "Thank you, Arthur," she whispered. "You have saved us all." Arthur collapsed, exhausted but triumphant. The manor seemed to breathe a sigh of relief as the curse was lifted. The green flames in the fireplace flickered and then turned to a warm, comforting orange. Eleanor helped Arthur to his feet. "You have done a great thing tonight, Arthur. The Rook family is forever in your debt." Arthur smiled, the weight of the night's events settling over him. It was the right thing to do. The spirits deserved to be free. Chapter 5, The Departure. The first light of dawn was breaking as Arthur and Eleanor stepped outside the manor. The mist that had shrouded the estate for so long was beginning to lift, revealing the true beauty of the grounds. Birds began to sing, and a sense of peace settled over Blackwood. Eleanor turned to Arthur, her eyes filled with gratitude. "You have given us a new beginning. The curse is broken, and the spirits can finally rest." Arthur nodded, feeling a sense of accomplishment. "What will you do now?" "I will stay here, rebuild what has been lost, and ensure that the Liber Umbra never falls into the wrong hands again," Eleanor replied. "And you?" Arthur looked back at the manor one last time. "I have much to write about, many stories to tell. But first, I think I need some rest." Eleanor smiled. "You will always have a place here, should you ever wish to return." Arthur took her hand and squeezed it gently. "Thank you, Eleanor, for everything." With that, he turned and began the long walk back to the village, the weight of the Liber Umbra still heavy in his satchel. But this time, it was a weight he could bear, knowing the spirits within were finally at peace. As he made his way down the path, the sun rising behind him, Arthur felt a sense of closure. The horrors of the night were behind him, but the knowledge he had gained and the courage he had found would stay with him forever. Blackwood was once again a place of quiet beauty, its darkest secrets laid to rest. And Arthur Cromwell, historian and seeker of the occult, walked away a wiser, braver man.